Okay, hello. Hello
Hey,
there.
what's up, guys?
I'm with my man LC. Welcome. We've got the studio set up, Foresight set up, question zone set up. So just like the description said, guys, I think it was fun, 2 weeks ago we did this?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago, before you left.
Yeah, right before I went to California. So it's great having LC. So what would be great is you guys ask as many swing-related questions as you can. LC is the man to answer those, and I'm going to hop up onto the stage there whenever I can to help demo, get some numbers, just help illustrate the questions that you guys have and the answers. So that's going to be the format we follow. The only thing I will say is that we're going to be on for 1 hour strict this time. As much as I enjoy going for 2+ hours, we got some other stuff to film, and LC's got a busy day, so we will be with you until 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Love it. You're a man with a plan.
Man with a plan.
Did you bring your irons, or?
I've got, my right-handed irons are in the mail. So UGP's built them, they are sending them.
Great.
So I'll have to borrow your Mizuno for only one more time, hopefully. And then I'll be good to go.
Awesome.
They're on their way. So, all right, let's get into it. Steven's got the first question.
Yeah, so.
Stephen Hall says, is it okay to bow your wrist at the top like DJ?
Yeah, it definitely is okay. I mean, if we know like this is flat, cupped, and bowed.
I will get up there.
Yeah, sure. So cupped, flat, and bowed, I definitely prefer flat to bowed. Bowed is definitely preferred for most amateur players instead of being cupped. Now, that being said, if you're bowing and you're super close like DJ, it's probably not ideal for most amateur golfers.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah. So that's, let me switch it to Matt right there. So that's bowed right there. You can see his back of his hand and his wrist does not match up. It's kind of like arched there, so that's bowed. Just show them, so this is flat. You can see it's like one line, and then cup it, and that's cup. It's kind of the anti-bow. So bowing typically closes the club face. If you're someone with a more weaker grip, bowing it may be pretty good just to get you back to square.
Yeah, good point.
But if you're bowing and you're closed, it's most likely not going to be too good if you're overdoing it. So I prefer flat, but bowed is still better than cupped. So.
Right.
That's kind of my preferences, guys.
Makes sense to me. All Day Ray's asking righty or lefty today. Probably mostly righty, but question specific. So if someone has a question that I can do better left-handed or that is left-hand specific, I will do it that way. But I will probably try to do a lot of it right-handed, just because it is easier for you guys.
That's
to
a good
picture.
one.
This guy here.
Yeah. Do you want to go up there?
Can he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question is, any swing tip that can help stiff hips? So. Okay. I find a lot of times when people say they can't turn because they feel inflexible, that's usually not the case. It's usually that they just don't move properly. They don't know how to move properly. So can you do face on first, Matt?
Yes.
So how people want to turn properly is you want to turn, so right trail hip is the right hip, right? So literally turn that hip back towards the screen as much as you can. Literally max out the hip turn so that your upper body can turn, okay? People who feel stiff hips, typically, you can see Matt's right leg is straightening. People maintain their right knee flex for too long.
Which takes some of the turn out.
Which it restricts your turn.
Right.
So that's one, okay? So you have to let your right leg straighten and loose flex as much as it can without locking out. That will help you free up the hip turn, okay? That's one. If that doesn't help, if your hips are literally actually too tight, which is usually not the case, then you can flare your feet out more. So usually when people set up, their feet are pointed straight at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
That also restricts your hip turn, but that doesn't mean you're stiff-hipped. It just means you're just restricting it. So flaring them out, let's say right foot point at 1 o'clock, that would be good. That will help you free up the hip turn there. That could also help if you feel like you have stiff hips. But generally, I still haven't really come across someone where they're so stiff that they can't turn enough.
Right.
You just got to make sure, are you going to flare your feet out more, or you just have to make sure you're letting your right leg or trail leg straighten and lose enough flex.
Makes sense.
That usually will help you.
So not too many hopeless cases, just some technique could help.
Exactly, yeah.
I like it. All right.
So,
it's Ben Martinez saying there.
Ben Martinez saying, what about getting Maddie's right hip to turn the corner in a way more like Dana D? Press scraps to stop the unnecessary runoff and to have earlier start to downswing. I'm not really sure. I really like Dana. I'm just not really sure exactly which piece you're referring to, Ben, so I can't really just can't really comment on it, but I do really like what Dana teaches. I think Dana is very, very smart.
This is maybe a downswing feel kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm just not too sure what he's referring
saying
to.
left hip.
Yeah, his
So
left
that would
hip.
be, I'm assuming, Ben, you mean me as a left-handed golfer. So left hip to turn the corner. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not too sure. Sorry, Ben. I can't
It's
really
okay.
answer too
You
much.
can clear
on
that up first,
yeah.
and then we can get
I don't
back to
really
it.
like. I don't really like speculating or commenting on other coaches'
Yeah, fair
feels, just because I don't really know. I don't want to guess.
Yes.
Better
Better to know exactly
Yeah,
what
but
they mean.
Dana is definitely very, very smart and very, very successful. He's a good guy.
There you go. There's a good one.
Hey Matt, what's up? I should make this smaller, maybe.
That's okay. No,
Okay.
that's fine.
So taking online lessons with Larry. Yeah, Matt and I are grinding along.
Good.
Would love to see how the shoulders should rotate in the backswing. Yeah. So
okay.
you want to
Yeah,
stand up there, Matt?
Yeah.
So this is actually good, not just for Matt, but for everyone watching. So just stand straight for a sec. So stand straight and face the camera and look at the camera. So when you stand and then put the club across your shoulders. So right now his shoulders are on the same level, right? So just look straight ahead and just turn, make a level turn. So because he is standing straight, his shoulders are turning literally on the same level. Shoulders are not going to rise or fall, right? Because he's standing straight. Now bend over. So now reset, bend over into your setup and make that same level turn. Good. So he's turning level to the inclination, okay? Yes, Matt's shoulder is now lower than, his lead shoulder is lower than his trail shoulder, but that's because he's bent over at setup. So you can see he's bent over, he's making that turn. Exactly. So his lead shoulder is lower than his trail shoulder. What most people tend to do, or what most amateur golfers tend to do, is they add tilt to it.
So this.
Yeah, they're doing that. So stand straight again, Matt. So literally now dip your lead shoulder as you turn. Yeah, so people are doing too much of that. So they're adding unnecessary tilt, unnecessary dip to it. So I tell a lot of people, you should just turn level.
If you turn super low, like we were talking about this, if you go like this, you tend to...
Correct. You're going to undo it in the downswing. You're
Yeah.
probably going to hurt yourself down the road as well. So because you're already bent over at setup, you're going to turning level to the inclination, you will already have the right amount of tilt.
Makes sense.
So you just got to turn level, guys.
Level.
Hope that helps.
Okay.
Todd Smith, to begin the downswing, do you feel as if your trail foot twists clockwise? Assuming you're a right-handed golfer, yes. I do want your trail foot to feel like it twists clockwise or away from the target, but I also want you to feel like you're screwing your foot into the ground. So if your foot is on the ground here, I want you to like dig into the ground as you twist. That's what we want to do to try to encourage both the vertical and the rotational forces.
You've got that cardboard drill that I know we filmed for your. So Larry's online platform, there's a video just about that, using a piece of cardboard which removes friction.
Yes.
So if you don't press down and, well, it allows you to turn a bit, but you press down into it and then turn it to give you the
Yes.
feeling of that torsion.
Correct. It just gives you good feedback that your foot's actually moving in the right direction. We obviously don't want to move the foot to actually move
Like that in the real
like that in the
swing,
real
yeah.
swing. Yes,
Fair,
that's why we
fair.
put something like a piece of cardboard there just to make the friction not be there.
Just for a drill. Alex, this is an interesting question. We'll get a little technical for Alex. What is a good vertical launch with a 7-iron? Any suggested drills to reduce vertical launch? So it's going to depend. I think if you're launching it somewhere between, forgive me, I'm not the encyclopedia of this, but I want to say with a 7-iron, 18, 19 degrees. Is that generally what you like to see?
I would
Okay.
have said like 18 all the way, maybe even to 21, 22, depending on your speed,
right?
And
Yeah.
speed and spin. The faster you are, the lower launch you can get away with.
Right, because the ball speed will make the ball
Exactly,
travel. So
exactly.
for Alex, any suggested drills to reduce vertical launch? He probably wants to reduce. He probably
Totally,
has,
you have
excess
to
loft.
reduce the loft. So I would just go straight arm finish.
Okay, so straight arm
straight arm
finish,
finish.
which takes dynamic loft away.
Yeah, because it encourages rotation.
Okay, let me just show
yeah,
Alex
so yeah,
what you mean.
this is a good one here. So
I'll do it from face on so he can see, but so basically making your swing and ensuring that when you finish, you're here.
exactly, because it's impossible to finish with straight arms unless the rotation is bringing your arms through. If the rotation is what brings your arms through the ball, it's less likely you're gonna flip and cup at it.
Because a lot of people might be adding loft this way.
Correct, because the arms are outracing the torso turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's.
So Alex,
I
that
would
would be a
say
good one
straight
for
arm
you.
Finish.
Some straight arm finishes.
Mike
question.
Jones, what is a good drill to not rush the downswing?
Ooh, question.
I like this. I mean, one thing I really like saying is feeling like you're like rolling through a stop sign. So
Yeah.
like when you come to a stop sign, you're supposed to stop for 3 seconds. Now, most people aren't going to stop for 3 seconds when they play golf.
Right.
But a lot of people tend to roll through the stop sign slowly. Like
Yes.
they kind of stop, kind of don't stop. So
Yes.
that's what I would suggest people do is feel like you're slowly rolling through a stop
See
sign.
if I can do one like that.
Yeah,
So like
so-
obviously, if you went up to the top and stopped, and then swing
That would be a
a full
legal
stop.
stop. That's a full stop.
full stop, you're not going to get a ticket.
Right.
And then rolling through would be maybe more like
Yes, exactly. So you're slowing down
Yeah.
as you approach the top of the backswing being the stop sign. So as you approach, you're slowing down, and as you're leaving the top of the backswing in the transition, you're also slow
Right.
into it. So that's a good drill. That's a good feel for I say to most people.
Agree. I like that too.
Is there a benefit to playing oversized grips for those with bigger hands, or is it more of a comfort thing?
Good question.
Yeah, I'd say it's more comfort thing for
Definitely.
me personally.
Yeah, I think, well, one, if you do have a big set of hands and the grip, like you wouldn't want someone's hands to be more or less like getting back
Yeah,
into themselves.
I want them in the fingers for sure.
Exactly. So yeah, you want it for comfort. Now, can you manipulate your ball flight a bit with that? Maybe. It depends on the player. But I would think, yeah, you want to feel like you need to feel like you can squeeze it.
Totally, yeah, totally. Especially like I like
keep it
I like
secure.
firm grip for a lot of people.
To get some speed.
I wouldn't say my hands like overly big, but I use mid-sized grips. I just feel like I can grip
prefer
it.
you can get on
Yeah.
there. Yeah. No, I hear you. Definitely.
What is a good tip or drill to remedy an arms dominant swing? So I'd say like just making half swings. So
Okay.
yeah, so Matt, like make a half swing feeling like your arm stays straight the entire time, and literally like what you do is when you're at setup is when you're at setup, your arms, hands, and club are in front of your body, right?
yeah.
From there, literally just maintain that and just turn your body and then turn your body through. So Matt actually did a really good job of being a little bit too armsy there because Matt actually lifted his arms too much in that half swing.
In the backswing?
Yes.
Okay.
So literally like feel like your hands and club just gonna slide off the ground. Yeah, that's exactly. Waist to waist, just turn like that. Slowly just turn. Yes. That's better. That's a better half swing there because he wasn't lifting. You feel the difference?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you feel the arms a lot more passive.
Yes. So literally the arms and hands kind of slide off the ground as you turn your body and then you turn through. Exactly. That's a good drill to do to help you be less arms dominant.
Right.
And I'm glad that Matt performed it and actually and
it's
Matt
great.
chunked a few.
Oh, I chunked him. Oh, yeah.
Because it is a very tough drill. Like
is.
when I teach a lot of amateur golfers for the first time, they can't do a proper half swing
Okay.
because they're so arm dominant before.
Makes sense.
And your righty golf swing is basically an amateur golfer. You shoot hundreds
is.
probably.
All arms.
So it's very common that you're not gonna be able to actually get good contact with a half swing initially.
Right.
And that's
but
totally
but
cool.
you practice the motion until you
Exactly. And when you can do the solid contact with the half swings, it'll actually help bleed into the full swing.
Okay. Makes sense. All right.
That's a Sam. That's a good one.
How long would you recommend drilling a swing change before moving on to the next tweak or change?
It's
Good
not really
question.
so much a time frame. It's more so how often can you do it. So you have to be checking yourself on video quite a bit. If you can see that you're doing it quite often, then that is a good sign. If you're doing it without much thinking, that's also a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
it's not really results based. It's more so how it looks. Depending on the drill and what you're trying to change in the swing, it usually depends on how it looks on camera.
Yeah, because how good is the movement? right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take this one quick. A little bit more of an equipment question. At what point do you suggest getting new irons? I have rocket balls, game improvement from 2012. But as I've gotten better, I just balloon the ball higher and higher. Yeah, those types of irons are designed to hit the ball higher and higher. So I would say it's been, 10 years now? You've probably improved quite a bit, and obviously you've already diagnosed your ball flight as being too high. So at what point? Now would be the time. I would go look at something that isn't so low center of gravity, something that maybe isn't so high in kind of like extra ball speed. Maybe just a slightly more traditional iron, like a Titleist T100 or something, or a Mizuno 223s are really nice. They're new ones. Something like that might give you a less kind of extremely high ball flight. That's a good one, eh? How much effort and strain should you feel in general, obviously? And is there more more strain, more effort in the backswing or the downswing? What do you kind of advise?
The effort level is definitely more so in transition and downswing. I mean,
Right.
I liken it the most to like Olympic lifts.
Oh, okay.
So if you're trying to hit driver, the driver effort is going to be much higher and much more like an Olympic lift because you're trying to go max power.
Yes.
The effort and strain you have with a 7-iron may be different depending on the player, depends
Right.
also on the style of player. I have some friends who like playing at 100% effort all the time,
Okay.
which is fine. They know the distance, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
I also have other friends or clients who like playing at 70%.
Okay.
It just depends on what you want to get
What you feel
after.
comfortable with.
But backswing's generally less effort.
You shouldn't be feeling much
Yeah,
effort.
you're building the effort and strain into transition and downswing.
Gotcha.
So
And where do you think you would feel the most? And we'll try to not use the word strain because I think it just reminds people of getting injured. But effort, like where do you feel like you really start applying? Is that when your legs get engaged?
Yeah, I think
In the
once you
downswing?
start the transition, that's where most of the effort's going to come in.
Okay, makes sense. Not comfortable in my setup at addressed. You mentioned straight line from lead arm down the shaft. Yes, that's right. To achieve this on camera, I feel like my hands forward and there's excessive shaft lean. Okay, so let's talk about this because this is exactly what you and I talked about with my right-handed setup.
So when I first started, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yep.
LC, I was kind of here and here,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. That was exactly what you were doing.
And so my hands are physically, you can see, behind.
Yes.
And in order for me to get more neutral, we bumped the hip,
Uh-huh.
and you told me to get the hands more ahead.
Yeah, perfect. That's perfect there.
Yeah.
So now you have that straight line from that lead shoulder down the arm, down the hands, down the club.
And so you guys with that view are watching this looking, looks like a nice neutral 7-arm setup. What I see, just in my my perception, it looks like this to me.
Totally.
Because it's all relative. So if I start here and this looks straight,
Right.
or here, sorry, if I go here, it's gonna really, in my mind, feel extreme. So I guess the answer is it's gonna
Yeah,
have to
totally.
feel.
I mean, as long as the camera doesn't lie. The
camera doesn't lie.
Assuming you're
true.
you're in the right camera spot, the camera is not gonna lie. So you just have to just
good point.
recalibrate your eyes from address. The more you see yourself on video, the more that you can convince yourself that's the right thing to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
it's totally fine that it feels excessive. If you look in camera it's not excessive, then you're not excessive.
Love it. It's a good question from Brian, and I think you'll have a good answer for this one. So obviously for you, most of the time I see you working with amateur players, you do promote that you'd like to see them hit a little bit of a push draw. Just talk us through that. Why is that something you prefer?
Yeah,
and
so
is it just for their skill level?
Totally.
or-
So in most cases, people hit a fade because they don't move properly. People hit a fade because their arms either sequences off. That's not how you hit a fade. Sure, a lot of players hit a fade, but the way a tour player hits a fade is very different than how an amateur golfer hits a fade.
Very true.
How the movements that I promote, you can hit both draws and fades.
Yes. you
But
definitely
yes,
can.
if you do the good movement with good sequencing, you're going to come slightly from the inside, which is why most of my videos promote a push draw.
And important to say, if you're learning a proper sequencing of a swing when you don't have one, the point at which you start being concerned about shaping the ball is quite a bit further down the road.
Well, yeah, it's way down the road, and I've said before in my YouTube videos, like the YouTube videos are trying to help the biggest population of golfers. I think
Yes.
most golfers would enjoy hitting a nice little push draw because I do think the movements associated with that will help them hit it more farther, swing it a little faster, just be more predictable.
I agree. And hit the ball a bit further,
Totally,
probably, right?
totally, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, dude. That makes sense. Obviously, if you're working with a tour player and they hit a fade, it's not to say you would tell them,
Totally.
oh, start hitting a push draw. But,
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we like here from Greg? Greg says he's got the iron face slightly open, the heels leading through impact. I see. You got two options here. Okay. Iron face slightly open with heel leading through impact, utilizing the bounce, or square face through impact, using more leading edge. I'm assuming we're talking like a mid iron or something
I
here,
mean,
Greg?
for a mid iron, I would probably never even think about that. I would
Yeah.
not encourage anyone to think about that. You
Because
can't.
the leading edge is going to be involved, but just after the strike.
Totally, yeah.
And the bounce is far less of a factor, Greg, when you're dealing with a mid iron.
If we were talking wedges here, I think, Larry, you'd have something to say about it. But when it comes to a mid iron or a short iron, you really don't want to be thinking about engaging the bounce at
Yeah,
that kind
totally.
of.
I would never suggest any of my clients to think about that when playing or swinging. If it's with a
With an
chip
iron.
shot,
Yeah,
then you can. But even then, I probably wouldn't think about it to that.
Agreed. Keep it simple, Greg, but good question. I mean, it's interesting. It's just interesting to see how people's minds work and what they're paying attention to. But I think in that case, maybe just overcomplicating it a tad. I've got to answer this. So when I go to Richmond Hill, I'm going to get you one. So the
Oh,
bird
you
tees-
mentioned, yeah,
the bird tees.
they
so,
use
so Al's got a tee claw that he runs through.
right.
Smart. And then you secure it on both sides and you hit a drive. So every video I make there with the driver, I would say there's minimum 10 to 15 comments going, what's that? What's that
Oh,
thing?
yeah,
I want
yeah,
one of those. I want one of those. So what is it? It is a bird tee, B-I-R-T-E-E. It looks like a badminton birdie without the end on it. And then tee claw is literally just two, they look like big shoe spikes, like two golf spikes with a sort of rubberized band in between. You just take the rubberized band off one, feed it through the bird tee, reattach it, secure them on both sides, and you got a tee that doesn't fly away. That's the secret. That's the ticket. But yeah, people are obsessed with that thing. And I get it. It's annoying having to go chase the tee every time. That thing does a good job. John, this is a good one. We're going to take this. John's asking about bending your left arm in the backswing.
Yeah, so generally I don't really prefer that. Now, if you have some prior injury that prevents you from straightening your left arm, then we definitely work with it.
Okay.
But I want it to be as straight as you physically can do it.
Gotcha.
So I don't prefer left arm bending for a right-handed golfer if it's not needed,
Gotcha.
because that's just an added variable. So the more you fold, the more you have to unfold. It's just an added variable.
Gotcha. Sorry, my OCD is driving me nuts here.
Yep.
I know I adjusted certain things for color when I was.
Hey, that's why you're the production expert.
Just some exposure management here, folks. No big deal. That's better.
If this was me doing the Q&A, you just see like brightness.
Well,
You'd lose me in the lights.
You were glowing like a saint back there. Okay.
So let me try to help with this
Yep.
one. And this is what we talked about in my first righty lesson, no? So I was coming in very here.
Yes. And that was because your right arm was too bent.
Right. So the
Trail
one
arm's
thing you
too
told
bent.
me, which was interesting, and everyone's heard it, keep your left arm straight, keep your left arm
Uh-huh.
straight. And a lot of people you talk to go well, I can't.
Yeah.
But it's mostly because the
Totally.
right arm is pulling the left arm in.
Totally.
Easier to think right arm out,
Totally.
which does have some bend.
totally.
And then the extension of the right arm actually keeps the left arm much more straight.
Exactly.
And then you're actually in a much better position.
exactly.
Yeah.
Most people's left arm bends too much because their right arm overbends and pulls it with.
Yes. Good question.
Good question. That's nice. Look how nice that looks now. There's Whisker. Yeah, he is. It was Larry's idea. Full credit. It's been great so far. It has been great so far. I'll still make videos lefty though. Don't worry. Don't worry. But the righty journey's been good. It's been fun for me to do something that's tougher to do when I'm swinging left-handed. It's harder to I think mentally go, I'm going to rebuild my swing. But right-handed, I can really just be every time I come for a lesson, I'm like, Larry, what's next? There's no preconceived ideas. There's no oh, I've been seeing this on the course. None of that. It's just what's the next step?
Totally.
And
It'll be fun when we go play when the season starts.
It will be
and
fun, yeah.
The righty mat. It'll be fun.
See what kind of
Yeah.
score I can shoot. I'm gonna have to spend some time on the chipping green though. Okay, what can we take here? I've seen this a few times. So what is the best way to go about determining your ideal ground forces, potentially work on them if you don't have access to swing plates? So
Right.
obviously Swing Catalyst Dual Force is amazing for quantifying these things, but a lot of people watch the videos that we've done together and go oh, I really want to work on that. Can I work on it without a system like this? Do I have to go to a coach that has it? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I
someone
mean
do? It's ideal.
it depends on so even before I got the Swing Cat, I still pretty much taught the same thing. It's just the
Okay.
Swing Cat kind of
It helps.
quantified it for my clients.
Yes.
You just have to feel athletic movements. So athletic movements that require you to use the ground could
Right.
be med ball tosses into the sky. If you're going to throw a med ball up into the sky as high as you can, you have to use the legs to push up.
Gotcha.
So that's one. Number two, med ball tosses with rotation. That's also we mentioned it in that video we did
did
together.
that.
That also helps. So
Yep.
honestly, like med ball tosses, Olympic lifts, anything that helps that encourages you to use the ground to make that power would be a good way for you to learn and approach learning how to use your legs in the downswing.
Gotcha. I like it. We talked about this, Ken, briefly. So Larry was saying flaring the back and front foot is good if you feel you have some hip mobility issues, and it will allow you to rotate a bit better. But for the most part, if that's not your issue, you would probably prefer to see them slightly flared, but not excessively.
for sure. Unless you're like hypermobile, then I do have some clients where we don't flare it.
Right.
But the front foot would be slightly more flared just because we rotate more on the follow through side.
Gotcha. All right. That's a good question. So Matt's saying, yep, there's snow on the ground here as well, pal. Any drills I can do to help with weight shift without having access to range or launch monitors? So again, like you've talked about, a lot of your clients just have a hitting net. So he wants to work on shifting pressure in his feet. What kind of drills would you recommend?
Yeah, so you definitely don't need a launch monitor or a range to feel that.
Right.
What I do like, if you're set on working on your weight shift, can you want to get up
Sure.
there actually?
Yeah.
So what you can do, so put the club across your shoulders first. So we do this dry without the club first. So put it across the shoulders, get into your setup. You're gonna do it. You want to do it as righty or lefty here?
I can do it as righty. Face on?
Yeah, face on. Yeah. So as a righty, so let's just say it takes his normal setup, right? Okay. So then bring your right foot to your left foot. Okay. You're gonna step back and turn.
Step this way.
Yeah, and turn.
Turn this way.
Yep. And then when you step back and turn, you should feel a bigger shift into your right
Oh,
side.
okay.
So step and turn together. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
But do it while looking at the ball though, okay? So I'm glad that Matt's doing this because it's something that a lot of people do, is they tend to look back as they turn. So you don't want to
doing this.
Yeah,
basically.
so you don't want to do that. So step back and turn, and you should feel a lot of shift into that right side, right?
Yes.
And because there's so much shift, that should react you back to your lead side. Does that make sense?
It does. So versus if I was just doing this and I thought from, normal stance, like get into my right side, you probably won't move as much.
You won't react back off of it.
Oh, you won't react back off of it.
Yeah. If you
So
do a
that's the bigger
step
part.
back, that should react you back through the ball a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that just as a general drill.
Could
to
you hit
help
balls
feel
like that? Could you hit a few
You
balls?
would hit balls like that, totally.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, that is a good one. I like it. What else?
Yeah,
do
what
you
do
like?
you want to choose here?
So Zach wants to know what you would recommend for a drill to get a little bit more open through impact. So myself included, a lot of people tend to face the golf ball with their chest and lower body at impact, whereas you want to actually be rotated towards the target.
So different people will have varying amounts of rotation at impact. Now, but that being said, though, I think most people would benefit from working towards being rotated at impact past the ball. The map out drill, I think, would be the best way to do it. So if you go on my channel, Zach, and you just search in map out drill,
Yeah, you have a video
that
on
would be the best drill for you to learn this.
Okay, I like it. Just constantly battling the brightness
Yep.
here.
The blessing and the curse of these
Blessing
windows,
and
eh?
a curse. Well, it's nice, but
Yeah.
The sun just has to make its mind up. Okay.
Yep, so Olivier is asking, I struggle to hit fairway with driver with 105 swing speed. I feel the tilt to hit up on the ball causes inconsistency in open face for me with a strong grip. Thanks. You're totally right. Like if you're feeling the tilt to hit up on the ball, you're probably excessively tilted.
Yeah.
I honestly really prefer lower tees. You can still hit up on the ball with lower tees.
Yep.
You've seen how low I like you hit, or even I hitting the.
You really just, a tiny bit of the ball maybe peaks above
Yeah.
the driver, but you certainly don't have it teed up.
Totally.
Like,
So
in a
I would
4-inch.
go assuming you're a right-handed golfer, I would make sure your ball position is not so far forward. I would go lead heel at most. Maybe even just practice with the one ball back of lead heel for now.
Oh, okay.
If you're someone who's tilting up too much.
I like that.
I know people read or hear tee the ball half a ball above the top of the driver. I would go 1/3 at most.
1/3
I would
at most.
even go maybe just none of it to start.
Especially for someone that wants to reduce that
Correct.
amount of
Chances
of-
are you're still going to hit up on it.
Of course, yeah.
Everyone that I ask to hit a low tee, whether it's you at 120 miles an hour, whether it's crystal at 95 to 99.
Yeah.
They tee it low, but they still hit up on it 3-4 degrees.
Right, because there's
Yeah.
still room there. I think it's
Correct.
important. Like 3-4 degrees it's not much, obviously, so you don't have to have a ball teed up like this. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, if you can feel the tilt, you're probably excessive.
Yeah, you're probably really adding tilt, and then with the grip being super strong, then you're probably trying to time the face to hit. A
The
pretty
more
big
up you
draw.
hit on it, the more this is gonna happen with the turning, because you're not gonna be able to turn your body.
And the face will be inconsistent.
Exactly.
Yeah, Olivier, I think that will be helpful for you, pal. What's the pooch doing?
Getting rowdy.
He's getting rowdy up there. Okay. Whisker wants to know if when I'm hitting right-handed, are my natural thoughts blocky like learning a new language? Is it becoming a natural flow? Yeah, it's probably one way of thinking of it. It's to be honest with you, it just generally feels awkward. I think because when Larry teaches me, the instructions are very clear. He gives lead side, trail side based direction. There are definitely times where I'm sure you've seen the first few videos. Like Larry will say I don't know, or keep your left arm straight, and I'm clearly reversing it and keeping like my right. So that's happened a little bit, but I think that will work itself out. But I would say what I feel more than anything else is it just generally feels backwards, which is obviously the most obvious thing I could have said. But the more I do it, I think the more comfortable it'll feel. I'm enjoying doing it though. I'm definitely enjoying doing it. So I'm curious to see what kind of level of kind of basic competency I can get by the springtime. And like Larry said, play a few rounds of some silly golf out there. Okay. That's a good question, because I think the word release can be misunderstood in many ways. So I'm having trouble releasing the club properly, hitting big push fades, so a ball that starts right and then fades worse. Any drills to help work on releasing it? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this?
So if someone's hitting big push fades, I liken it to a batter check swinging at things.
Okay.
Hitting it to opposite field. That's probably the best way to do it. So the bat's obviously a little later when you hit it to opposite field when you're hitting a baseball.
Okay.
It's very similar to this. So
Because
things
you're
are
sort of check
correct.
swings so the
You're
bat
just holding
points that
things
way.
off, right? So without knowing the swing, I generally ask people to just swing it as hard as they can.
Okay. Because then that actually gets the body to let go of.
Right.
It's like a holding on to angles could be an
totally.
issue too?
So I mean, because usually people pull, a batter will pull or hit it to center field much further than they would hitting it to opposite field.
Yes. Yes.
So same thing here. If you want to hit it as far as you can, you better release it.
So maybe even some of the drills that I've seen on your channel about getting your angles out at the right time, that might be helpful. And then observe the ball flight, because if you tend to be a person like me that really hangs on to it way too late, then
just try to generate speed ASAP. Yeah, that would be one general thing.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I think that's a good tip, because you don't know exactly how he's swinging it.
Yeah,
It could be other.
totally.
We'll take this quick equipment question, because we can. Will I get much more spin that is noticeable changing my wedges back to S400 from X100s? I would be very, very surprised if you had much change at all. It would have to significantly change your strike point on the wedge for you to change. For you to get a big spin change from just a shaft change. I mean, S400s are a bit heavier and a bit softer, whatever the hell that means, in the spec, than an X100. But they're not so far away that I wouldn't expect your strike point to change enough that your spin would change. But that's a general piece of advice. You might do it and you might get tons of change, but that would have to really affect your delivery and the way you strike the ball. Okay, let's get this. This is from Ben. He's helped. So Ben, we were talking about Dana earlier. What I meant was the recentering move that Dana is about. I've worked with him a while, and it got rid of my excess arm runoff. The recentering move. You familiar with that?
I've seen it a little bit. I haven't really
don't know a
dived
ton
too
about
deep into it. Yeah, I just don't want to
fair enough.
speculate. Yeah.
Well, I think here's the thing, guys. Like
Dana's obviously an extremely good coach, as is Larry, but different coaches communicate in different ways. So this might be something that achieves a similar outcome to what you want a player to achieve, but maybe you don't communicate it the same way. You may not use the same words. So Ben, I'm not saying the question's valid, but just keep in mind if you're working with Dana and that's kind of what he's got you doing. If you go to a different coach, you may find that just their communication style or their preference to how they train someone. It's not that the goal isn't the same or that they don't agree on the process. It's just the communication style, the teaching style may just, and I get these questions all the time. They're always like, how do you take a lesson with this person and then go to this person? It's like, it's mostly just communication styles. If you work with coaches that are solid like you are in terms of your understanding of like how the body moves and biomechanics and stuff, generally the goals are the same, but you may just have different preferences of how you communicate.
Like
that
if you're working with Dana, just keep listening to what Dana says. Dana
Yeah.
is very, very
He's very
good.
smart.
He's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
you spent some time with Dana.
yeah,
years
totally.
ago, right?
Yeah, I want to go take a lesson. I think it took a few hours with him, like a few hours before COVID happened. Went out
okay.
to go see him. Like he's really like I really like Dana, Ben. Like if you're working with Dana, I would suggest just keep listening to what Dana says and don't have to ask about it. Like I totally
Be confident in
appreciate
him, right?
the questions and the engagement, but I don't like speculating on what they're teaching you.
Totally fair.
Whether it's Dana, whether it's anyone else.
Yeah, that is totally fair.
Hey buddy, what are you doing?
Oh, hello.
You want here,
Let's see
come over
Larry's
here.
dog for a minute.
Come over here. You're too mischievous. You want to say hi?
Come say hi, pal.
Okay, come over here. Come over here. That.
The week
Hey.
of dogs. And look at this big
Look at
lug.
this.
Look at this lug.
Look at that.
What are you doing?
Look,
What
it's
are
you.
doing? He's like, why are you doing this to me?
Look, it's you. Haha.
He's
Okay.
he's very photogenic.
He's very photogenic, very mischievous. Okay, go.
He's a lovely boy.
Okay, go.
It's LC's pooch. All right. Okay, this is good because we talked about someone who hit up too much on the driver. Let's take Phil's question. It sounds like Phil's hitting down on his
Right.
driver. So, what do you think is the best way to correctly, without silly tilting and stuff?
Yes.
How do you get someone to hit up on the driver?
Yes. So I think that the easiest, you want to actually
Yeah.
set up. So.
Do you want me to get a driver?
Grab a driver. You can grab the driver in that bag there.
I'm trying not to toe sky.
And then just do a face on first.
Okay.
And put a ball kind of in line with your left heel. So, that looks good there. Yep. So if you're someone who hits down on the driver, the first thing I would do is probably just feel like you're hitting off your back foot, because chances are that person is going to the lead side way too early.
This way.
Especially for a driver to be teed up. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very hard to actually hit down on it.
Yeah, there's a
because
lot
the
of-
ball is teed up.
Yes.
So I would suggest you just make sure you load the right side or trail side, and you stay on the trail side in the downswing. Chances are you're not going to stay on the trail side. You just get to the lead side later than you're used to.
So the club has a chance to shallow out and come back.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you're here, that's really the
And
dead
that's
zone.
probably what Phil was doing.
Yeah.
That's my best
And
guess.
it's pretty common, right?
Yes, it's not that. It's from what at least to the lessons I've seen, I haven't really seen many people actually hit down on it.
Yeah.
Partially because we don't really hit driver until the swing is better anyways.
Right. So you've worked in some of the shallowness
Yes,
early.
but just as a kind of like a easy thing for you to do, Phil, I would suggest just thinking about loading the trail side, loading the trail side
Larry's
in
in
the
heaven again.
backswing, and then staying on the trail side in the downswing.
And that's just a feel. I guarantee you,
Just
he'll
hit off
still-
your back foot.
Yeah,
and
he'll still
see
make
what
it to the
happens.
front foot eventually.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
I'll try to bring you back from the clouds.
Okay.
How are we doing? Okay, we got another 20 minutes. Jackson's asking, this is a good question. Any advice for chipping off of tight lies, LC? What do you like?
Oh,
for
this is
tight lies?
actually okay. This is actually a good question because I think I have a very good drill for this.
Okay.
So you want to grab a wedge?
wedge?
Actually, I think I do have a wedge in my bag. Do you see any wedges?
You have a W. You have a W.
I just have a pitching wedge. Just grab it.
Can I do it left-handed?
Sure. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Totally.
Which wedge? Like a 60?
Yeah. Whatever wedge you use to chip. So what you can do as a drill is this. So let's just do face on first. You're not going to actually hit it, but just as a face on. So address with the ball though. Address with the ball. So let's just say his ball is roughly in the middle. Okay.
Okay.
So when Matt sets up, he's roughly 50-50-ish. Move the ball back a little bit. Yep. Good. Have a little bit of shaft lean. Okay, good. So right now he has a straight line between his lead arm, down the shoulders, down the club, right? So what you would do is actually make a backswing that's like 2 feet, like a 2 foot long backswing,
Like
and stop. Perfect. So that's maybe even half of that to start. Perfect. So very small backswing, okay, Matt? From here, I would stop for, let's say, 2 seconds, and then use your lead foot to bounce you through the shot. Exactly. So let's actually hit one in the screen now. That would ensure that the bounce is in play.
Right.
And that would ensure that you don't get too far over or get too far behind it.
And it also would prevent you from just going with the hands and sticking.
Right. We're
sticking
maintaining the
leading edge.
structure as best as we can. If you return that straight line that you had at setup and impact, you'll be okay. And then just use your left leg to bounce you through with no speed. Just exactly. Literally, like whatever speed you made the backswing at, you're gonna do the downswing at that same speed.
Okay. That did actually, like, it came off quite crisp. That.
Yeah. So you make that 1 foot long backswing and stop for 3 seconds. Perfect. And then whatever speed you make the backswing at, you do the same thing as you bounce your left leg into it. Exactly.
That's actually kind of cool. Like
that's
those,
the drill I
pick
would
them
do.
clean.
Yeah. If you have poor technique, you would never be able to stop at the top and hit a chip.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's a drill.
Exactly.
And is that also helping? That's helping someone shallow the club out
That's
a little
going to
bit?
help them return the wedge back into the ball with pretty decent alignments.
Gotcha.
So that your low point control is predictable.
Gotcha.
Because so let's just do a bad one. Just do a bad
Sure.
one for fun. So most people, do face on first without actually hitting it.
Uh-huh.
So most people, what they would do is this. They would, make that foot long backswing again. So they would not bounce into the leg. They would use the arms first. They would kind of lag the hands through. They increase more wrist angles.
Yeah.
Because the hands are so far forward, the leading edge is in play. You're
yeah.
either gonna dig or skull it. We don't want that.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who does that, you're never gonna be able to actually stop at the top and hit a decent shot without taking a divot.
So the idea is to make sure you keep it this way. Don't add.
Correct. You're just
cock your hands.
Yes. Yeah. Don't add. Yeah. Don't Sergio it.
Don't Sergio it, and then this motion.
Exactly. Because we want to bring that straight line back into the ball.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And by thinking legs, you make the hands passive. Right?
Exactly. And that's also set same speed as a backswing. No acceleration.
So you're not trying to jam on it.
Correct. Correct. So that would be I really like that
That's
drill
good.
for people who struggle with hitting off of tight.
Those felt
hit
really
off
good.
of any lies,
Any
but
lie, but
tight
yeah.
lies in general, it would help your tight lies.
Those chips felt really, really good. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but they actually felt pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to try to get a few sort of interesting ones that maybe we haven't gone into yet. A couple people have asked
Yeah.
this.
Let's do that.
So, any tips or drills in fixing heel strikes?
Yeah.
Someone was asking about irons earlier. This guy's asking about drivers. So, what do you do for someone who's hitting?
So
heel?
generally, people who hit on a heel too much are people who hold onto their wrist angles for too long.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's one. Now, I'm not saying it's the be all end all, but that's generally what I've seen. You hold onto your wrist angles for way too long. Your angles are not being released in time. Without seeing how you swing, I would just suggest getting rid of your angles earlier,
okay.
or just try to hit it off the toe side of the sweet spot.
Yeah, because just a basic hand-eye
Yeah, just
coordination
thinking
thing.
of trying to hit on the toe side of the sweet spot would definitely help.
Yeah.
Without seeing the swing, that would be what I would suggest.
Yeah, I like it. That's a nice, simple idea. Yep, I like it. Whisker's asking if I might play a different golf ball, left and right-handed. I would say at this stage, yeah, probably. I'd probably play a little bit higher spin ball right-handed because I don't produce as much spin yet as I do left-handed. Obviously, more speed and a little bit more downward angle attack. So I'm not 100% sure what ball I'm going to play this year yet, but I would guess the right-handed swing version of me will play a little bit higher spin ball throughout the bag.
RC, people. That'll probably help a lot of people.
Yeah. The most popular topic
Yeah.
in golf is
So the early extension really can't be fixed unless you fix the pieces that come before it.
okay. Let me get up there.
Yeah. So
I'll get a
people
right-handed
early extend because you're probably doing things in the backswing that causes it. Okay.
Okay.
So the most common culprits are this. So Matt, make a backswing where you don't turn,
Okay.
where you fold the right arm up the most and you hinge the most. So make the most narrow backswing. So that's not very narrow there, okay? He has no width. People who have no width, which is a very common amateur golf swing, you will not be able to turn properly. Because if you maintain all that and actually try to turn properly, you're gonna be way outside in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So he has no choice but to unfold and unhinge, but that's the stand-up move. Because
the
if
club back.
if he stays in posture and unfold and straightens your right arm and unload all your angles, you're gonna hit the ground every single time.
And do like and be choppy across it.
Totally, anything will happen.
So I would, if I am like this, my brain thinks I want to at least hit the ball slightly from in to out. Ideally,
You're gonna early extend.
I'm gonna go.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with early extending to play better golf shots.
Yeah.
Because that's just your body reacting to the spot you're putting yourself in.
Yeah, so in situations you might want to have the ability to do it. You just don't want every shot
Right.
to have
So
excessive.
if you're really keen on fixing the early extension, you would make sure you have a wider backswing. Good. And then from there, I would just think butt back, chest down in the downswing. Exactly. That would be the feel. Butt back, chest down.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Oh, let me just put in. Let me just
Yeah, that's
put in back.
I'll take a couple
Hi,
questions.
buddy. It's time
He's a
for
curious
you.
boy.
Time
Hello,
for you
you.
to chill by yourself, okay?
Oh,
Working right now.
boys are
Okay,
working.
we'll play later. Okay, buddy, we'll play
Okay.
later. Okay, sorry, buddy. We're gonna play later, okay?
Garrett, good question. Any swing thoughts to promote additional negative angle of attack with irons for a shallow player? So someone that tends to be a little bit on the sweepy side, maybe slightly hits up on the longer irons and is maybe only 1 or 2 degrees down with the mid irons. What kind of swing thoughts could we get in there? Let me get Larry's thoughts on this. I have a couple drills that I've suggested to people before, but I want to see what Larry thinks. So somebody who's very shallow with the irons and wants to get a little bit steeper, you'd rather see them 4 or 5 degrees. What kind of drills do you like to work on?
I would also go back with a short arm finish.
The same thing.
Yeah,
Straight arm
because
finish,
if you
okay.
rotate well, you're probably not going to tilt back. The tilting back is what causes more shallow angle of attacks.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if you tilt back, you're probably not going to have short arm finish, because if you tilt back, the arms will overtake the torso's
And fold
rotation,
up.
which is why the lead arm chicken wings folds up. If you rotate well, if it's a rotation of the body that brings your arms through, it's much easier to have the short arm finish.
Gotcha.
So having a short arm finish just encourages better rotation through the ball, which would usually promote that more negative AOA if you're someone who is too flat through the AOA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to that same thing, and Garrett can start with the half swings. Just really focusing on having full extension straight with both arms and club pointing right towards your target, and get a feel for that and let that bleed into your full swing. I think that's a good simple way of doing it. Because there's obviously, I was going to answer, but I thought I'm going to answer with Band-Aids. That's the real issue at hand,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, I could tell you a million things, but they're temporary. They won't last.
The last thing you want to do, just while we're on a note, the last thing you want to do is literally try to hit down on the ball, because chances are when people try to literally hit down on the ball, they like pull their arms down more, and that's just a recipe for
gets worse.
disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, it just gets worse. Okay. Apparently someone wants you to move to Seattle. I don't think he's going to move to Seattle.
Yeah, I really like living. Oh, it's true. Yeah, I work with them online. I definitely
is that
not going to Seattle to live. I
Maybe he'll
actually
come
really
visit. He'll
I
come
really
visit.
like Toronto, Drew.
But you can always travel, folks. But home base is here. There's my pal Russ. Russ says, "Morning, gents. Any drills for someone that tends to get the hands stuck behind and the lead arm pinned against the chest?" Asking for a friend. So this is a little bit. Would you say this is a little bit less common of an issue,
Honestly,
or it's a better player's issue?
I honestly think that it's not an issue at all. Like, I like lead arm pin against the chest.
Okay.
I really don't think hands really do get stuck behind. I know people always say, oh, like being stuck, right? I
Okay.
think that's just a very made up thing that encompasses too many things that shouldn't really be thrown into this category.
Okay.
So you want to go up there actually?
Sure. Yeah.
So people, being stuck is a real thing where you can't rotate anymore, right?
So maybe let me just illustrate what I mean. The basis of what Russ is saying is like kind of having this feel in the downswing.
Yes.
Right.
So that kind of lead arm pinned against your chest is not the same as, so go to the top of your backswing. So at the top of your backswing, your lead arm is strapped against your chest somewhat, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I want you to maintain that as you rotate. So if you rotate and maintain that, actually maybe I'll perform that, just because your righty swing won't be able to perform this. Let me perform this. So, and I don't want you to perform anything that's going to encourage you to do something that we don't want. So because it's so fresh.
I got enough problems.
Right. So most people who feel stuck is because they can't rotate in the downswing, right? So they feel like, sure, trail elbow is behind you, lead arm is strapped against your chest, then you're going to start doing inside out, right? But that only happens if you don't rotate and maintain posture. So I can still be left arm strapped against my chest. I can have my arm way behind me, which is me doing this. You see this right here? So things are way behind me. But as long as I maintain posture and rotate, things aren't going to be stuck. You get stuck because you tilt back, okay? You're stuck because you're attributing this move to this move. But they're two different moves. Does that make sense, Matt?
It does make
sense. That's two different moves. I can do as much of this as I want, mash that with as much as this as I want, and I'm never going to be stuck.
So for Russ, focus more on what you just did, which is the more pronounced rotation into the follow through.
Yes.
Because his arms are in a good position if he rotates.
Yes, because the more back you are, the more rotation you're going to get. Number two, you're also maybe attributing you being back with down. I also don't want that. So I would say don't pull your hands down, Matt.
Yeah, so maybe he needs to keep them high.
So people do this.
Yeah.
Sure, you're also stuck here because you're not going to be able to rotate because your hands have lowered so much so early, you have no time to rotate. So from here, you're probably going to do this again.
Right.
So as long as you keep your arms up and back, and just because your arm is strapped against your chest, the rotation of your body will push your arms down eventually.
Yes.
Your arms will lower, but they're lowering because your body's rotating, not because you're lowering your arms on its own. That's my preference.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, that's my preference.
Okay, so Russ, keep those hands high in transition and rotate more aggressively into the fall through, and I think you will be just fine. Yeah, that was good. I like that. There's another pal of mine, Austin. Austin says, LC and Matt, while working on swing changes and being in competition, how would you overcome the difficulties of scoring? Swing changes seem to be coming around, but finding it difficult to score. Yeah, I think that's a common issue, right?
So you have to just basically decide, do you want to swing? Do you want to make your swing changes or do you want to compete and score right now? It's tough.
It's tough to do both.
Yeah, now like if making your swing changes or you're doing it in an effort to shoot lower scores down the road, then I would just keep working on the swing changes.
Yeah, as long as you're not, I mean, if you don't play golf for a living and you're not going to, lose your livelihood by making a swing change, then go for it. But yeah, if you get into a competition, I mean, competition and performance, and talking to Gareth about this, like, the mindset and the approach for competing and performing at a high level have nothing to do with swing mechanics. Nothing at all.
Totally.
So if you're going to be thinking swing mechanics, yeah, you're right. It'll be tough for you to score.
And it's one thing to think swing mechanics, and it's another thing to actually change swing mechanics on the golf course.
You probably won't change anything.
Yeah.
On the golf course. You may be sort of like ingraining a feel, but yeah. So I would.
It's
I mean,
tough.
try to separate them, Austin. But as I said, if you're still having fun and you feel it's worthwhile, then yeah.
Yeah, if you have fun, then keep doing both.
Yeah, just keep doing both. As long as it's not frustrating you or discouraging you. Okay, we're going to take a couple more. We're going to take probably two more. A lot of thumbs up for your dog.
Thank you. He appreciates it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting question. So we're talking about backswing depth, so how far behind the hands and arms get. He says, LC, do you care if a backswing is a little shallow or do you prefer steeper? How do you follow through without getting steeper?
So I typically liken steep and shallow more so with the shaft angle in the backswing. So whether you're steep shaft or shallow shafted, you can be deep or not deep with steep or shallow shaft. So I prefer steep shaft still with depth. That typically will react to the shaft shallowing in the downswing. Okay. Steep shaft backswing, the shallow downswing. So so I do care because I don't want it to be too flat.
Gotcha.
As a general guideline, at lead arm parallel in the backswing, I want that shaft pointing at the ball or slightly inside the ball. There are a couple of things where I will overlook it if it still reacts fine into the downswing. Yeah. But generally, I will look into it. I mean, unless you're already a high-level player. Like, if you're a high-level player, I'm not really going to change it too much. But if you're not a high-level player, then I'm probably going to change it.
Yeah. yeah, that's fair. Yeah, totally fair. Sweet. I like that. What loft wedges do you play, LC? What do you got?
I go 50, 54, 58.
Yeah.
And then a 46 pitch and wedge.
I've got 50, 54, which I sometimes bend a bit weak, to 55, and then I have a 60. That's what I've got right now. You tend to be way better at delivering. You can hit shots around the green where you really get the loft on it. So for me, I need the 60 because I tend to de-loft everything. But That's one thing I want to work on this year is getting better at getting the angles out, being able to kind of hit those like nice thumpy shots and pop the ball up without having to rely on like the flop shots. I was talking to Gareth about that too. He's like, the more you rely on these very like low percentage, open stance, wide open face like flop shots, your success rate is like really low.
Totally.
Unless you were like one of the best players in the world.
Totally.
Okay, last question. Because LC and I are going to do a couple vids before he gets started. They love your Pokemon head covers.
I do like those
There they
Pokemon
are.
head covers.
Here's Pikachu. Who's this
The
purple guy?
Gengar.
Gengar. There you go. They're popular. Okay, last question. Yeah, let's take this one because it's important to how you teach, I think.
Okay.
What's the best way to self-analyze recordings of our swing? Should we be looking at a recording of our swing, literally every time you hit a ball? Like, what do you recommend someone's flow look like?
So here's kind of the process. You need to get a tripod,
Yep.
or at least a consistent method of putting your phone or iPad up. Okay. So usually all my online clients, even my in-person clients, have a tripod.
Yeah.
It's cheap, $20-$30. You put your phone on it.
Yeah.
Record it at the same angle, height-wise, and left-right-wise. So
Yep.
typically hands in the middle, chest high, I like.
Okay.
So from there, if you have that variable not being a variable anymore, then I would, depending on how serious you are at making a swing change, early on in the process, I would film every single swing.
Yeah, just to make sure you're actually.
Because if you film if you first swing, you do something, you think you've done it, you look, you haven't done it, you can make the adjustment for swing two.
Gotcha.
The things that people don't make swing changes well because they film maybe 2-3 times in a session, then they don't make any changes happen. So you have to film every single swing, and let's say after 5 swings, after making adjustments 5 swings in a row, you finally get the change you want.
Right.
Then now you're like, okay, I know how that felt because feel and reel is not the same. You need the videos to help you calibrate your feel and reels. Now that you've had an association with that 5th swing, you're like, okay, I got a feel for it. Let me try it again. Let me feel myself. 6th swing, you did the same thing. Great. You check again, 7th swing, you did it again. Great. You do 5-10 swings in a row where you actually had the right feel to get the right reel. Then you can be, okay, now I'm going to film every maybe 3 swings. And it's still happening. Then you can start spreading it apart. But depending on what you're doing, you may have to just keep filming.
Yeah.
And even though you may, and let's say you work in the first thing, later you check it once every 5 swings.
Yep.
Once you work in the second thing, you may have to go back to check it every single swing early on,
true.
and then spreading it out once you see the right feel produces the right reel. That's
Yeah.
what I would suggest you do.
Agreed.
That's a really good question.
That's a
I
good question.
think most people who want to work on things or want to change their swings don't film themselves enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. Or they just,
Yeah.
they think they can film one every 30
Totally.
swings.
Or they think that, oh, it feels different, so I'm changing. But sure, it feels different, but it's probably not changing the right thing.
Looks identical. Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. Okay, we're going to take 2 more quick ones.
Sure.
Help me get distance out of wedges and shorter clubs. Being a shallow hitter, the length difference, pitching wedge is, okay, so he hits his pitching wedge 110 meters, 52 degree goes 85 meters. I hit it very toey and weak. Okay, I mean, it's pretty common. So you're probably someone that, as you said, you get the strike towards the toe. You probably deliver a lot of extra loft. What kind of a drill? I mean, this sounds like someone who might need to work on long arm finish with the wedges.
I was going to say the long arm finish.
Because they're adding too much loft.
Yeah, I would say long arm finish for sure.
they're
And just
not-
learning how to get the center contact.
Yeah.
Once you get center contact and the feel for how to get center contact, it's much easier to bring it back into a fuller swing.
Yeah, and the distance will come with a better strike. So
Exactly.
I mean, if you are kind of hanging
Yeah,
back on
there's
it,
no reason why you should
flipping
have a
it.
25-meter difference between his
Between those
pitching
two.
wedge and his 52, unless his pitching wedge is like 44 degrees.
Yeah, and even still, you need to get some more compression on it. So yeah, work on that drill that we did near the front where you can start with half swings, but really feel like your body does all the work, the rotation, the arms stay very low and straight in the follow through. That will help you deliver less loft, compress the ball better. And I would imagine that's going to move the strike on its own. towards
Totally.
the center.
Yep.
Good question. Okay, last question from Anthony. Anthony says his 3-wood speed is the same as driver. Why? Angle of attack positive with drive, a little bit down with the 3-wood. Good, yeah, that makes total sense. I'll give you my thought and then you can give them yours. I would say you probably just have a bit of a confidence issue with that driver. You're physically capable of swinging it faster than the 3-wood with the shaft length. So Does the driver fit you that well? Do you, are you on the course kind of fearing a big miss with the driver? Is it causing you to physically slow down a bit subconsciously? Do you not have that with the 3-wood? Do you, feel like the 3-wood is a pretty accurate club? When those thoughts are in your mind, you will subconsciously swing faster or slower. And I go through that at times too, where my driver swing speed will come down, and I feel like I'm swinging hard, but in my mind I know, I'm kind of hesitating at this today. And other days where I feel good, I may not feel like I'm ripping at it that hard, but I see my club head speed spike up. So that's where I would look. If you feel like the driver is leaking confidence for you, that will translate into swing speed, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I would. It's honestly a really good answer. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I would also add that how you're hitting up on the driver may be negatively influencing how you release the speed.
If it gets excessive kind of thing?
Yeah, you may not be rotating as well as the 3-wood. Because like you said, there's really no reason why 3-wood should be the same speed as a driver.
Yeah, so maybe some setup things like Larry said. There's maybe a tee height thing you can mess around with.
Right.
Maybe an intention. Maybe don't think too much up with the driver, because that might have you leaning back and not rotating through as well.
As cliche as it sounds, maybe just try to hit it like your 3-wood.
I know, seriously. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Rock some low tee drivers and then measure your club head speed.
Like literally, like tee it up with a ball in the middle of the club face, so it's gonna be very low, and then just try to hit like a 3-wood.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Chances are it's actually gonna be pretty good, because hitting a driver, I would say, is easier than a 3-wood, because a 3-wood is so much smaller. I would just try to hit a driver like a 3-wood.
Yep. Okay, good. Guys, hopefully
11:31.
we are officially on 1 hour. So appreciate you guys joining us. Normally we have a little bit more time, but I just want to make sure Larry and I have some fun stuff that we want to film. I think we're going to continue the right-handed series today.
Totally.
So just want to make sure you guys get a chance to see that this week. Normally we'll do a little bit longer live, but this was good. Concise, 1 hour. Hopefully we got a lot of your questions. If we missed them, know that this is not the last time we're doing this by any means.
Yeah, we'll do it again next week
I
probably.
think me and my pal here will make it a regular occurrence. And as always, you can, when the video uploads, you can put comments on the video posting itself. So if you missed it, I'm happy to zip in there and try to help you out afterwards. So feel free to do that. At least one more video this week, hoping to get 2 done with LC. So hopefully see one tomorrow and Thursday.
We got time to make a couple videos today, I would say.
Vids.
At least.
Yeah. I had a few drivers right-handed, just for fun.
Oh, yeah?
Because I wanted to give you some feedback coming in. I'm not saying we're going to start on driver now. I still want to wait till you tell me I'm ready. But I just did some just to see what the pattern was.
Is it on the channel, or?
It's on the channel.
I'll take a look tonight
I was
when I got some time.
It's like toe shank, toe shank, toe shank, toe shank, toe shank. I was like,
That's funny.
So it was kind of fun to see what happens when you self-diagnose your driver.
That's
kind of thing.
funny.
So yeah, we'll be moving on in that series. Probably not driver yet, but you guys will see more of that this week. And then I'm around for the next couple weeks. So I'm sure we will do another live like this, and maybe a little bit longer session, get to a few more questions. But hopefully you guys like the format. I think it's great to be able to hop up and hit a shot.
Yeah, this
into
is
the
awesome
sim
to switch the view back and
do
forth.
this.
Awesome.
And if we have data, I mean, this week it wasn't as important, but if we need, we can get data from here and look at ball flights and stuff like that. So the 2 of us are enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are too. Tell your buddies, tell them to join us next week on the live, and we'll be happy to help as many people as humanly possible.
I love it.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.